Hello and welcome back to another speed build with Frimlin, and welcome to Aspen Grove. This is essentially a gated community of 4 small little cottages, and they're around the same size as a starter home. When I started this build I thought, yeah, 4 tiny little cottages, it's not going to take very long, but actually a starter home already takes me a little while. And then you times that by 4, and actually they're a little bit bigger probably than the average starter home. I mean, they have more in them because I didn't have any kind of budget set. No budget restriction this time, as you probably saw in the build options. So including a few coffee breaks, the actual build time was around 6.5 to 7 hours. And because I usually make my speed build videos at 7 times usual speed, that meant I would end up with a speed build video of around an hour, which was unacceptable. So I had to do some very heavy editing. Mostly what I've done is remove the footage for the building of the bathrooms. So no great loss there, since they're pretty small bathrooms anyway. And quite a few people don't actually like seeing bathrooms being built. So what you'll see instead is I'll be in the middle of one of the cottages, and then suddenly the bathroom will appear. Hopefully that won't be a bad thing for you. So like I said earlier, I didn't have a budget restriction in this build, so even though these little cottages are a bit like starter homes in size, they're not at all in terms of what's inside them. The total cost for the entire build is around, or just under 200,000 simoleons, so in theory each cottage is worth around 40 to 50,000 simoleons each. So in theory around double or more the price of a normal starter home. Now this cottage at the back, and the other cottage that's going to be at the back as well opposite it, they look quite small to begin with, but I extend them later on. All 4 cottages admittedly look quite boxy when I finished with the build, but I was really trying to use as much of the lot as possible. And I could have made them more unique in their shape and size, but I could already see that it was going to take a long time to make, so I decided that it would be probably easier to at least have each building mirroring the other one, as you can see with these 2, even if what's inside it is completely different. So the placement of the windows, the stairs inside, and all of the objects, all furniture inside is completely unique to each cottage, but the external kind of shell of the build pretty similar to each other. So the 2 back ones, like I say, are very similar to each other, and then the 2 at the front are also very similar to each other as well. Now in terms of what type of rooms there are in each build, well, there is, as you would imagine, 1 kitchen per cottage and 1 bedroom per cottage on average. There is, however, 2 cottages that have 2 bedrooms. One of them is suitable for 2 kids, the other one is suitable for 1 toddler, and with a bit of creativity you could knock a few walls down and add some more rooms, I'm sure, but this is how I've presented it. So this is the kitchen, as you can see from one of the cottages, and for a lot of these rooms I went through and I did like a very basic white interior first. It was supposed to be a bit like a block out, but in some cases I actually kept some of the white stuff because I just liked the look of it. But in many cases I came back and added in more colour, so that will all be revealed in the screenshots and preview videos at the end of the video. I was very tempted to chop this speed build into 2, like I did with Rock Island House, but the second video of Rock Island House actually has so few views in comparison to the first, despite the fact that it has all the screenshots and video previews at the end. I decided it's probably going to be better just to stick everything in one longer video, and I think this is probably going to be 40 minutes or so, and that's just unavoidable. Sorry! But yeah, you could skip ahead if you really don't want to listen to my lovely commentary. But why would you do that? So in a couple of places here I tried to stick curtains or blinds on the windows, and it didn't always work. Now this was an example of where it did work and I left them there, but in other rooms I just couldn't get the curtains to sit in the right spot on the wall, or I just couldn't get the right size or the right colour. So some windows don't have curtains or blinds. Oh well. Of course, it's not really a problem if, like me, you play with the walls down, but yeah, I just thought I'd mention it anyway, just in case you're curious. So, as you can see, the rooms are very similar in size to a starter home, and so that made it kind of tricky to place some of the furniture, but I like that kind of tricky. You know me, I like restrictions when I'm building. So, as I mentioned, no footage of the actual building of a bathroom, so you might notice that there's a little bathroom in there now, all fully furnished, and it's a pretty tight space, but more than enough for Sims to get around and clean themselves up and prepare for the day. And yeah, this is a lounge. I've wanted to use these little balloon lights for a long time in this kind of way. I just haven't used them for some reason in many of my builds. They came along with the toddler stuff. Not the toddler stuff pack, but the toddler stuff that came for free in the main game. And, you know, they're a nice playful option. They kind of, for this room, because it's kind of it's quite a serious kind of adult room in terms of colours and look. So they provide a little bit of playfulness to counter that, I guess. And you can see where I stuck that window just above the fireplace for a little while there. That's actually where I stuck a nice painting which I downloaded from the gallery. And all of the rooms, well, most of the rooms are decorated with paintings that I downloaded from the gallery, and mostly by Tia33 or Anna Val Anna. So check them out in the gallery. They do some great work, and there are other people doing kind of custom made paintings that you can stick in your game as well. Now, unlike all of my builds basically, I didn't come into this build thinking of which packs I was going to restrict it to, but quite early on I found myself choosing items from Get Together expansion, so that's pretty much the only pack I think you need for this build, that of the base game of course. So because I was using Get Together, that meant I could use the wardrobes or the closets, whatever you call them. And so I've added one in here, and I think at least one other cottage has one as well. And the other cool thing about using Get Together is that it also allows me to have like a dartboard and the foosball table. And what else? That woohoo bush that you know, your Sims like woohooing in. So there's like a communal woohoo bush out near the gate, the front gate, that I don't really add until the playtesting, because I suddenly thought, oh, wouldn't that be a good idea? And yeah, near the gate there's also a couple of little kind of communal areas. One of them is a gardening area, so you can plant some plants and feed the whole community. And the other area is like a little games area with chessboard and foosball, that kind of thing. You probably can't hear it with the music going, but just in that little bit of commentary there's some dog barking going on, and that's basically one of my neighbours. They have dogs, and around this time in the afternoon, I think one of them one of the neighbours comes home and all the dogs start barking and they want to be let inside. Poor things. So yeah, if you heard that, that's what it was. But otherwise it's actually really quiet around here, which is why I decided it's a good time to do some commentary. I was thinking of actually doing video commentary, with Facecam. I haven't done that for a long time in a speed build, but I'm tempted to do it again. We'll see. I just thought perhaps with a 30 to 40 minute video that Facecam probably would be too much effort for such a long video. So I'm going to restrict it to smaller videos, and if I do another small speed build, I will attempt to do Facecam commentary. I think I did do it before a couple of times with the speed build, but at the moment most of my Facecam videos are Let's Plays. So if you're interested in checking out my Facecam, then check out the Let's Plays. And if you are interested in the Let's Plays, I would suggest you start with the Angel Family Let's Plays first, because they came chronologically before the Angel and Alien series, and they introduce one of the main characters of the Angel and Alien series. So yeah, definitely well recommended to go and watch that first. And you get to see Facecam. And you get to see my hair changing rapidly between recordings, because it was growing a bit long and then I had to cut it, and I didn't have a goatee and now I've got a goatee. But I'm pretty new to Let's Plays, both watching them and making them. So it's a bit of a learning experience still, but comments seem to be quite good, so I'm going to continue with it. But yeah, let's get back to the build. So that's cottage 1, mostly completed. It's definitely the slowest of all the cottages. As I go on throughout this entire build, each cottage gets progressively faster to make. So definitely helped a lot. And I think at least some of that is to do with the fact that I just wanted to finish the build, so I was just rushing myself near the end. But I don't think I rushed it too much. I think the product is still pretty good at the end. But you could be the ultimate judge of that when you download it and install it in your game. So this cottage is more of an arts and crafts kind of cottage. And you'll see what I mean in a moment, but I expanded on it more later on as well. But yeah, it's also kind of more family focused, because this place has 2 bedrooms in it, and one of them is a kids room with 2 kids beds, whereas the first cottage only had the 1 bedroom and is just generally more kind of sophisticated in style. It's probably going to be more suitable for a single or a couple of Sims, whereas this place is definitely more of a family place, or for Sims that want to start a family perhaps. But I think I might have mentioned it earlier, but I actually extended these first 2 cottages after all the building and playtesting had finished. So you'll see it in the screenshots and video preview at the end. But basically I just built over the room with the front entrance in. So in the first cottage, that's where the kitchen is, and in this second cottage, that is where the lounge is going to be. But upstairs, they all kind of gain a new room, and this cottage gains like an arts and crafts room, about in the space where the kids' room is now. And in the first cottage, they gain an office space with a bookcase and computer. Another thing I should probably mention is that although at the start all of the 4 cottages are white on the exterior, I later give them all a bit of colour, so they end up being 4 different colours. They're pastel colours, so they're still quite light, but I just thought in the end it was going to look better than 4 kind of plain boxy white cottages. And yeah, I just placed an easel here in the lounge, and that's the start of what I was alluding to earlier when I mentioned that this cottage is more of an artsy crafty kind of place. Later on, when I extend the upstairs, I add another easel, and I also add like an arts kind of activity table for kids, so further accentuating the idea that that cottage is more of an artsy kind of cottage. So now we're starting on the 3rd and 4th cottages, and I didn't like copy and paste the buildings this time. I built them from from scratch, but they're so small it's not a big deal. But yeah, you can see they're pretty much mirrors of each other, and they stay that way. In terms of the external walls and roofs, but the windows, some of the windows are the same between the 2 cottages, but other ones are unique just to that cottage. But like I said, the cottages are kind of boxy, and I feel bad about that, which is why I keep mentioning it, and I probably shouldn't. But that's just the way they are. And I think, if you think about the gameplay inside the cottages instead, then hopefully you won't be too bothered by that. But yeah, also this lot is, I think, the only 40 by 20 lot in the game. So it's long and thin. And yeah, it means that the cottages kind of had to be squeezed up against each other. Now I'm just making excuses, not good. But my advice to you, while we're on this subject, is if you don't have this space, if you don't have this 40 by 20 lot free, then you can place it down on a 40 by 30 lot instead, and then all 4 cottages get an instant kind of backyard upgrade. I think that's probably what I'll do when I place it in my world. Because yeah, it is a little confined around the outsides, and I just imagine once we get like cats and dogs in that expansion pack coming later this year, we'll want some space for our cats and dogs to run around. But then you're going to have problems, I think, with the sim limit per house, because in total this whole lot can only have 8 sims in there. So it's going to be interesting deciding how many sims are going to go into which cottage, and I've already tried it with a bit of playtesting, and I've got to say I really enjoyed it. So hopefully you will too. So we're now over halfway in the video, which is good for me to know. Yeah, if I was cutting it, I would probably cut it about here. But I'm not cutting it. I'm going to continue on with the commentary and make one big long video. But I don't think it's the longest speed build I've done. But I could be wrong. There's still quite a bit of footage, like the placement of these plants outside, that I probably could have cut. Because, what does it really show you? But while I was editing, I just got this feeling that if I start cutting like this and that and the other, what actually am I showing you in the end? I might as well just have the video preview in screenshots. So I left them in, and if you strongly object to me doing that, then please say something in the comments. So cottage number 3 furnishing now. And unlike the back 2 cottages, the front 2 don't have fireplaces and chimneys. Why? Well, to be honest, the first reason is because I just forgot about them. The second reason, once I did remember them, was, well, it makes them more different. And at the time, the front 2 cottages were much more spacious inside. So I thought, this is just one of the things that makes the front cottages different from the ones at the back, and generally makes each cottage more unique. So as you can see, there's a little tiny bedroom for toddlers in this cottage, which is cool. if you want to start a little family. But if you don't want to start a little family, then you can remove all the furniture from that room and maybe make it into something else, like I can imagine it as a study, for example, because studies tend to be quite small, especially for those of us that aren't very well off. So now it's time for the bedroom in Cottage 3. Now the bedroom in Cottage 1 was kind of blue. The bedroom in Cottage 2 is kind of, I think it's light brown and kind of more neutral shades. But the bedroom here in Cottage 3 is something different again, as you shall see. So yeah, there's a bit of pink in there, some pink lampshades to go with the pink blossoms on the bed. But perhaps surprisingly, now the room is quite dark, but it still has that light pinkness in it. And I quite like the contrast between the pink and the darker walls, so it stays like that. And there was a bit of space out on the hallway, so I thought, well, since there's a toddler in the house, they need to have like a toddler toilet, or potty, whatever you want to call it, and a couple of toys for the toddler as well. So that's what I placed there. And later on in the playtesting, I think, I added a window there as well. So there's a couple of windows in that hallway, just to keep the place nice and bright. I really love that little colourful blotchy rug that came along with the free update for toddlers. I find myself using it a lot, and not just in toddler rooms. I'm not sure if I already used it in this build. I think I did use a blue one, didn't I, in the kids' room of Cottage 2. But yeah, I just like using it a lot. And I think the colour options are pretty good. I mean, I haven't been very disappointed by the colour options on that rug. Unlike other items where you place them and you just can't find the shade you're looking for, or even an acceptable shade. So you have to actually go for a completely different item. That's annoying. So now it's the kitchen for Cottage 3, and quite a big kitchen, which is nice. And as I mentioned, I blocked out lots of the rooms with white furniture first. But as you'll see, it doesn't stay that way in this room. It very quickly changes to something quite bright. So yeah, I'm not sure how often I've done a yellow kitchen before. And I don't think I've ever used that toddler wallpaper before in a kitchen. Or at least definitely not the yellow version. But there it goes. And yeah, I made a couple of the walls a different colour. So one of them's just a plain yellow and the other one's like a plain orange. Just makes the room a bit more interesting that way. And I think probably that wallpaper, if it had been on every wall, it would have been, way too overwhelming. And there it goes. There's the rug I was mentioning earlier from the free toddler update. Using another shade of it, but in the kitchen this time. And yeah, I think it works. What do you think? And I don't think that's the last time I used that rug. It's funny that all these items that came along with the free toddler update, they arrived in the game, I don't know, quite a few months ago now, like over 6 months or more. I still think of those items as being new, and I still like using them in builds quite a lot. And it's cool when you're building with pack restrictions, because you've got the base game stuff, but when you get free update items as well, that's like a little bit of extra cool new stuff that you can add to a build. And we've had another free update just recently where we had a few items added, and you might have already realized, but I used one of them in the bedroom of cottage number 1. There's a new bed in there, and I think I used a couple more of the items in this build as well, because, you know, new stuff is new stuff. And this sofa that I'm adding now to cottage number 2, I haven't used that much because I didn't used to like the colours, but I've kind of got used to them now, and I'm kind of getting over my initial aversion to those colours. And yeah, placing it a bit more in builds now. So just a picnic table for the outside of cottage number 2, and already we're in cottage number 4, and this is the bedroom, which, as you can see, has a closet from the Get Together stuff packs, so you can use it as a woohoo location. But yeah, the whole yellow and dark thing going on here. And I do like it when you can actually get relatively matching curtains going on in a room. But yeah, pretty basic bedroom really. Just sticking a bit of decoration in. So some sunflowers. And just a little bit of clutter on the chest of drawers. And now let's go downstairs. I would say out of all the cottages, the 4th cottage is the most different from the others. And I don't think that's just because it was the fastest to build, but I think possibly that is also a factor. But yeah, I think I just wanted to do something quite different from the other ones. And yeah, it has quite a sophisticated look going on. Again, blue isn't really a colour that I've used much in kitchens, at least that I can recall. But here I am using it. Why not, eh? Add a little coffee machine. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that's quite an important thing for me in my real life. So yeah, I think it's pretty important to have some coffee for your Sims as well. And yeah, using the Get Together pack means I can use some clutter that I don't usually use, which I quite enjoy. I don't think I've ever used those chairs before at all. I don't know, something about them having like material hanging down has always annoyed me. But I kind of liked it in this build. And yeah, this is something I love doing when I'm building. I love trying something new that I probably wouldn't usually do. And yeah, I did it in this build. So I don't know what I was thinking, sticking like a kerosene lamp on the floor, but there you go. And another cool thing about using the Get Together expansion pack is that you can add dance floors and a DJ booth, like I've done here. And so yeah, that kind of adds to the overall theme of this cottage. You know, it's got more of a blue thing going on, it's got a darker kind of feel, and it also has stereo and dance floor and DJ booth. So yeah, I quite like that it's quite different from the other cottages. But also, if you're going to have kids in one of the other cottages, then as you'll know from playing the game, often when you have a sim practicing on a DJ booth, it can make a lot of noise. So I think we could have some tension between the different sims living in each cottage. I'm pretty sure it's going to wake them up in the middle of the night. And as you'll know, it can be quite annoying for your sims to be woken up like that. and so that creates a bit of tension, a bit of drama, which is great for storytelling and the like. And yeah, if you play with Sims that always are well behaved and everything goes so smoothly, it can sometimes be a bit boring. So there's nothing like a bit of tension, a bit of conflict to try and make things more interesting. It tends to make stories much more satisfying. So now I've finished the cottages mostly. I'm just adding a bit more detail to the exterior, some of the communal shared spaces. So there's the foosball table I mentioned earlier, and a little bench to sit on. Later on I actually removed that bench in the playtesting, and I actually replaced it with a tiny little bar. I would have liked to have stuck, even more stuff out in the communal area, but, well, I just ran out of space, so I didn't. And that's the build footage complete. And here's Cottage 1, Cottage 2, Cottage 3, Cottage 4, and here's a layout video from above of the ground floor. Cottage 1 kitchen, Cottage 1 lounge, Cottage 2 kitchen, Cottage 2 lounge, Cottage 3 kitchen, Cottage 3 lounge, Cottage 4 kitchen, and Cottage 4 lounge. Sensing a pattern? And here's a layout video of the first floor. Cottage 1 main bedroom, and Cottage 1's study, Cottage 2's main bedroom, and kids' bedroom, and art room, Cottage 3's main bedroom, toddler bedroom, the landing just outside the door, Cottage 4's main bedroom, and here we are from the front. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back to see another video. I also do Let's Plays, and I'm releasing roughly a speed build a week, maybe 2. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you're well, and please consider leaving a comment down below. Take care and goodbye.